Hi, it's Moira. Welcome to a new video. So a few things are different. Technically, I'm in cosplay. Technically. Didn't feel like actually getting into Marauders cosplay. I'm gonna cosplay Victor from Arcane after this, which is why I only have foundation on and my eye bags are really prominent, so... Hello, this is editing me. I feel the need to pop in here and say, yes, I do look very, very, very ugly in this video. We're gonna collectively need to ignore that, okay? Just listen to this video. I'm begging you. Today's video is going to be about Marauders references. So I'm going to do this in an Iceberg format, which is basically where you have a bunch of information about one topic and you explain it from the most easily understood and common knowledge about a topic to the deep depths of like, no one knows what this is. But if you do not care about where I've been for the last 2 months and you just want to learn about Marauders references, skip to this time. Yeah, I've been gone for 2 months, or more at this point. I think more. To summarize everything, I just kind of stopped being into the Marauders. So I was already falling out of interest and fixation in the Marauders, but in October, my favorite part of this fandom disbanded. So if you've watched any of my videos, you'll know that I always used to shout out, and notice that I'm saying used to, I used to shout out a fan film called The Mischief Productions. The Mischief Productions died in the time that I've stopped making videos, and with that fan film disbanding, so did my interest in the Marauders, basically. Like, it was kind of the nail in the coffin for me. I'm here. Yeah, I'll probably talk more about the future of my channel at the end of this video, but for now, we're going to actually talk about the Marauders. The tip of the iceberg, the lightest, most commonly understood references that you will see in, like, fandom spaces. First thing I have is the picture, which sounds weirdly ominous, but it's not. This is the only canonical image of the Order of the Phoenix. This is not used as a reference because why do they all look like that? Why does Remus look like that? I'm scared. Next is Miss Kingbean. She is the author of All the Young Dudes, which is the most popular Marauders fanfiction ever. It's also, I believe, the most popular fanfiction on the entirety of AO3. Miss Kingbean is kind of our lord and savior. Next is Jilly. Jilly is a ship between James Potter and Lily Evans Potter. It's the relationship between them. Next is the Marauders themselves. The Marauders are James, Sirius, Peter, and Remus. They are who this fandom is based off of. That's why it's called the Marauders. If you want a detailed explanation on who they all are, there you go. Next is the prank. This is a canonical thing that happens with the Marauders. It's one of the only canonical things we know about them. This is a prank that happened in their 5th year where Sirius tried to prank Snape by getting him to go into the Whomping Willow while Remus was transforming into a werewolf, and he tells James and James saves him, and then they're all like, please don't tell anyone, Snape, and Snape doesn't tell anyone, but they're scared, and it's the whole thing, and that's a lot of why there's tension between them. Yep. Is like a big point of angst that you'll see, and so if anyone's referring to the prank, they're talking about what happened in 5th year. Next is Snape, the character, Severus Snape. He is treated differently in the Marauders fandom, and people don't like him. Me neither, me included. He's kind of like the villain of the Marauders. Next is Chocolate. Chocolate is something that you'll see thrown around in relation to the Marauders, mainly Remus, because in the movies and I think in the books, it's been a while since I've read the books, I'm gonna be so honest, I was more of a fan of the movies of Harry Potter, which served me better in the end. Oh. Remus canonically gives Harry chocolate once he deals with the Dementor attack, and so everyone's like, oh, chocolate is Remus's thing. This is just fully his thing. That was also like a big characterization in the early 2000s, and in the 2010s it was like, Remus, chocolate. So that's chocolate. Also now there's like a big obsession with Mars bars, so that can also tie into chocolate, and that comes from fanfictions. Next is Prisoner of Azkaban. This is the introduction to the Marauders first being mentioned, the Marauders map, Remus, Sirius, and Peter being known as James's best friends. This is when we first get our real introduction to who the Marauders are going to be based off of for the current fandom lore. Next is OG fan casts. So this is Andrew Garfield as Remus Lupin, Ben Barnes as Sirius Black, Aaron Taylor-Johnson as James Potter, and Dane DeHaan as Peter Pettigrew. These are the fan casts that you'll see mainly if you look at older content of the Marauders, but it's still like widely held, especially for Remus and Sirius, that these are like still very popular and common fan casts today. The map, the Marauders map. It's in the movies. It is like one of the biggest pieces of Marauders lore that's canonically existent. All the Young Dudes. This is a long-form fanfiction that was written by Miss King Bean. This author basically wrote the entirety of Marauders. Like, it's going from year 1 of Hogwarts up until every single character dies. Yeah, so it's just a very long fanfiction that covers like the whole story of the Marauders, and it's become considered like canon to a lot of people in the fandom. Me included. A lot of my video essays are based off of the lore of all the Young Dudes. Next is Mooney sweater, and specifically this trend of this picture. The Mooney sweater is Remus's sweater. Mooney sweater. I don't know why or when this started, but everyone since the beginning of time has been like, Remus Lupin likes sweaters and he wears grandpa sweaters, and this is something that hasn't changed from like the 90s characterization of the Marauders till now. It's just Remus, Mooney sweater. The Mooney sweater can be any kind of grandpa sweater. If you go to a thrift store, you can probably find a Mooney sweater. And then also in 21, I would say, this trend emerged of like everyone like holding up the Mooney sweater. And then people turned that into like other characters. So there's like Lily, Sirius. That was like a whole trend in the 2020s, like during COVID. Next is Wolfstar. Wolfstar is probably the biggest ship in the Marauders fandom. It is the ship between Sirius Black and Remus Lupin. Next is Mrs. Mooney, Wormtail, Padfoot, and Prongs. So when people say this, they are referring to the Marauders map. They're referring to the nicknames. Mooney is Remus, Wormtail is Peter, Padfoot is Sirius, and Prongs is James. And they're called that based off of the animals that they turn into because they're animagus. Last in this tier is TikTok. TikTok is very prevalent in these trends, people learning about the Marauders for the first time. This is where people nowadays will learn about the Marauders for the first time. Next, we're on to our second tier, which is a little bit harder to understand if you aren't like deep in this fandom, but if you like know Marauders lore, you'll probably be able to catch what most of this means. First, we have Grant Chapman. So Grant Chapman is an OC from the fanfiction All the Young Dudes. He is, or is sometimes in a relationship with Remus Lupin, and if you see people talking about Grant Chapman and throwing this picture around, that is who they're referring to. This is the fan cast, the commonly agreed upon fan cast for Grant Chapman. Next is the Slytherin Skittles. Kind of like it's a newer term for these characters, but these characters have always existed in this lore. But the Slytherin Skittles refers to Evan Rosier, Regulus, if you could call this a Regulus cosplay, Regulus Black, Barty Crouch Jr., Pandora Rosier, and Dorcas Meadows. They are the Slytherin characters, and they're called the Slytherin Skittles because they're gay. And then I also have Barty, Evan, and Regulus. These are the guys in the Slytherin Skittles. They are unfortunately more favored because this whole fandom tends to favor the male characters over the women. An unfortunate truth. So I have them as their own thing. Also because people will talk about them as like a trio often and like draw fan art of them as a trio. And then going along with that is the Valkyries, which is girlies, the women. They are Lily Evans, Mary McDonald, Marlene McKinnon mainly, and then sometimes people will add on Pandora, Dorcas, and Emmeline Vance. Is that it? I hope so. Next is T-Rex. This is a band. It's a band. It's a 70s band. It is in the Marauders lore because of All the Young Dudes. It is a band that Remus and Sirius listen to a lot. Next is Baby Girl Death Eaters. This is a term that you'll see going around. I think I've also said that multiple times on this channel. It's people turning the male Slytherin Skittles, like Barty Crouch Jr., Evan Rosier specifically, but also Regulus, into baby girls, which is basically just like parts of the fandom completely glossing over the fact that they are canonical murderers and wizard fascists and making them baby girls. We don't need to get into a debate on that. If you want to see debates on that, you can go to my Slytherin Skittles comment section, but we're not getting into all that right now. Alright, next is David Bowie, which is similar to T-Rex, where it's a music artist, although I'm assuming more people would know who David Bowie is. David Bowie is commonly associated with the Marauders because, once again, Remus and Sirius like listening to his music in the lore. And because of David Bowie lore, I cosplayed Sirius to a convention looking like this because why not? Next is Dorleen. This is a ship between Dorcas Meadows and Marlene McKinnon. Ethan and Andy. These are my first real people that I mentioned in this whole video. Ethan and Andy are a very popular Wolfstar cosplay couple. They're very well known for doing a really good Wolfstar cosplay. So, yeah. Mary McDonald is a character in the Marauders. She was a member of the Order of the Phoenix, and she also canonically was targeted by Death Eaters when she went to school. Sorry, Mary. She is commonly fan-casted as Sophia Bryant, and you will often see pictures of this girl, and that is Mary McDonald. Next I have Taylor Swift wrote all the young dudes. I don't know if people genuinely believe this. I think maybe some people do, but for the most part it's just a joke. But there's this joke in this fandom that the author of all the young dudes, who is Miss King Bean, is actually Taylor Swift. This is because Miss King Bean is like anonymous. We don't know anything about her. Because she's anonymous, some people like theorize that she's Taylor Swift because like Taylor Swift's songs can match up with the Marauders and like things that happen in all the young dudes. Okay, next is Crimson Rivers. Before I explain about Crimson Rivers, please don't ask me to make a video on Crimson Rivers. I tried to script it, I failed. Okay guys, I failed. It's so complicated, I couldn't do it. I was going to, didn't do it, won't do it. I'm so sorry. Okay, Crimson Rivers is a Hunger Games AU fanfiction that is written about James and Regulus. Very long fanfiction, it's almost 1,000,000 words. Yes, I've read all of it. It is really good in my opinion, and it made me cry over a bookshelf. Next is Jegulus. Jegulus is the ship between James Potter and Regulus Black. Next is Dorcas Meadows. She is a canonical character that had like one line written about her. Next is Marlene McKinnon, another canonical character who has like one thing written about her. By the way, I'm not like breaking down the characters that aggressively because like I said, I have so many videos on this channel talking in depth about all of these characters, so yeah. Next is Mooney Toast. So Mooney Toast is, once again, I'm bringing up all the young dudes. Woo! Mooney Toast is specifically from all the young dudes. It is like this toast that Remus makes where he spreads like 4 different condiments on toast and then he cuts it into squares. That's like a reference within the Marauders fandom. You'll see people posting about it and eating it. I've made it. It's pretty good. The last thing I have in this tier is French Blacks. So this is the headcanon/canon that the Blacks, like Sirius, Regulus, that they are French because on their family tapestry they have toujours pour like actually written. Now we're moving down to our middle tier. So this is stuff that if you aren't like super deep in this fandom, you probably will not understand when I first say these words out loud. Good for you. I know what all this means and I'm not proud of that. We are starting out with Mary Lily. This is the ship between Mary McDonald and Lily Evans. Less common than Dorleen, so I put it in the middle tier, but it's like fairly common when you get pretty deep in this fandom. Next is Rose Killer. I put this one in the middle because like people who don't know much about Marauders lore probably don't even know who Evan is, so that's why I put it in this one. But it is a very popular ship. It is Evan Rosier and Barty Crouch Jr. Forgot that I put this here. Now I have a landmine. So if you haven't finished reading Crimson Rivers, the fanfiction, just skip to this time frame because I'm gonna talk about spoilers. It's a thing that happens in Crimson Rivers, the Hunger Games AU fanfiction that I was talking about before. It is the death of Marlene McKinnon in Crimson Rivers. She steps on a landmine, like after all of like the fighting ended. She's basically like prim. She got primrosed. Next is Casting Moonshadows. This is a fanfiction. It was written, I believe, in 2007. This was a fanfiction that popularized a lot of the characterization that you'll see in the fandom from the 2000s and 2010s. This fanfiction is also where like Sirius wearing like a leather jacket came from. Like it established all of like the basics to Wolfstar. And the way that I describe it is that it was like all the young dudes before all the young dudes. That's how I've referred to it as. Next is Matt Hitt. So this is a common fan cast for Remus Lupin. He's like the second most popular fan cast after Andrew Garfield or his actor like himself. Although I will be honest, my personal fan cast is still Andrew Garfield. Does that have to do with the fact that I've been in this fandom since 2016? Probably. Next, I have Mars bars. So this is a very common thing that you'll see associated with the Marauders. I'm pretty sure, like I've read that this started from all the young dudes, but I was really surprised by that because there wasn't much of a focus on Mars bars and all the young dudes, but that's what I've read. This is just a common thing in fanfictions and in like portrayals of the Marauders that they really like Mars bars, mainly because Sirius stars, he's named after a star. He likes Mars bars because it's Mars. Next is Dorian and Rafa. These are, once again, real people. They aren't cosplayers. They used to portray James and Regulus in a popular fan film that is no more. Next is Red Converse. So this, I don't know why. Well, I mean, I get why, but I don't know where this started specifically, but people just associate red Converse with James. So if you see like a picture of like red Converse, people are normally referring to James Potter. Next is Jiggy Lily. So this is a ship between James, Regulus, and Lily. A lot of people are like divided on if they like this or not. I just like it because I'm a really big fan of both Jilly and Jegulus, and I don't want to choose between them, so like why can't they all just like hold hands? That's why I ship it. But yeah. Next is Black Kinnan. Oh my god. So this was a really popular ship in the 2000s to 2010s in the Marauders fandom. This is the ship between Sirius Black and Marlene McKinnon. The common fan lore of the Marauders nowadays, Sirius is a gay man or queer, and Marlene McKinnon is almost always seen as a lesbian. Next is The Kiss. So this is kind of similar to The Prank, where it's referring to one specific incident. This did also happen in 5th year. The Kiss is referring to, again, all the young dudes. The first kiss between Sirius Black and Remus Lupin. You'll also see people talking about like the stairs, or you'll see videos of people posting like going to Universal and being like, I know what happened here when there's stairs. And that's what they're talking about, because Remus and Sirius kissed on the stairs in All the Young Dudes in 5th year. So that's The Kiss. Just Lovers is a Jegulus fanfiction. It's a pretty popular one. I haven't read it, so I can't like speak too much on its character, but if you go to my Jegulus video, people in the comments explained a lot of Jegulus fanfiction. So if you want a detailed explanation on what Just Lovers is about, you can go there. Oh, Alice! I forgot her. Oh, I totally forgot her. I'm so sorry. It's been months, I totally forgot. She's a part of the Valkyries. I'm so sorry, Alice girly. Alice Fortescue, she is a character in the Marauders, but she's not as well known, so I totally forgot that she existed. Next I have Hang Painting Here. If you see that pink sticky note on my wall, that's what that is. This is a reference from Art Heist Baby. I haven't read this fanfiction. I just have this on my wall. People have been begging me to read it. If I get back into the Marauders and I like start reading Marauders fanfiction again, it will be the first one I read. So Choices. Choices is a Jegulus fanfiction. Talking about a lot of fanfiction now. Yeah, Choices is a Jegulus fanfiction. It is a pretty like controversial fanfiction. Lots of people love it, lots of people hate it, but it is a very popular Jegulus fanfiction, so you will see people talking about it a lot. Next is Soft Boy Remus. This refers to the characterization of Remus Lupin in the Marauders fandom from the 2000s to 2010s. He was portrayed very differently. I've talked about this and made fun of it very openly on my channel a lot of times. Next is The Cadence of Part-Time Poets, or COPTP. Jesus. So if you see that acronym or people talking about this, they're referring to a fanfiction. This is a very long form, modern day Wolfstar fanfiction. I might get this wrong. If I get this wrong, please correct me in the comments and I'll pin it. But next is Pete a Word. This is something that James says to Peter in, I think, All the Young Dudes, right? When he's being homophobic towards Remus. I'm 99% sure what that's referring to. Next I have Bagel Angst. Okay, so Bagel Angst it's a Crimson Rivers reference. Crimson Rivers is really long, and I can't explain the significance of bagels right now. Okay, and next, also from Crimson Rivers, is Great Big Tragedy. This is a phrase that I've said on this channel multiple times, and it triggers people when I say it, which is very funny. This is from Crimson Rivers. Regulus constantly refers to him and James in this fanfiction as a great big tragedy. It is like the G-note for Crimson Rivers fans. We're almost at the bottom, so now it's gonna get even more cursed. Next is Emmeline Vance. She is a character canonically who once again has like one line. Next is Snoopin. This is the ship between Snape and Remus Lupin. People shipped. It was more common in the 2000s, thank God, but people did and do ship Snape with the Marauders. Jail to every single one of you. I don't want to hear it. Don't defend this in my comments. Next is The Shoebox Project. So I've mentioned this fanfiction a few times on my channel. It is basically how I refer to it is the All the Young Dudes of Jilly. So it is a very popular Jilly fanfiction. It was like very influential to the ship gaining popularity, and it was written in like 2004 to 2009, I believe. Alright, next is Noble Flower, Narcissa Black, and Alice Fortescue. It's like more of a niche Women Love Women ship, but it's a really, really cute one, and there's really good fan works made about it, so I'd recommend checking it out if you're interested. Okay, next is Oranges, a reference to Art Heist Baby. I'm pretty sure. I don't know who. One of them, either James or Regulus, like, they make orange muffins, I think. Reminder, I have not read this fanfiction, so I don't actually know. Next is Party Van. Barty Crouch Jr., Evan Rosier, and Peter Pettigrew as a ship. It's mostly a joke, but there are people who genuinely ship this, like, deadass. Alfred and Joella, they are the parents of the Black sisters, who are Narcissa, Bellatrix, and Andromeda. Mary, this is a ship between Emmeline Vance and Mary McDonald. Alice Look at Me, this is a fanfiction. It is a Noble Flower fanfiction, and also, like, I'm pretty sure the most popular one from that ship. It's regarded as a really, really good fanfiction. Next is Quill Killer. This is a lesbian ship between Bellatrix Lestrange and Rita Skeeter, that's her name. This is more of like a chaotic ship. People do ship it genuinely. Next, Remus is a bassist. This is, I think, directly a reference to the Cadence Part-Time Poets, but it's also like just generally like a headcanon that people have. Next is Christopher, aka Colin Creevy. So, I am going to claim that this is my lore. This is in my most popular Marauders video essay that I've done. I was talking about the OC in All the Young Dudes, Christopher, and I was talking about how every single time that I was reading this fanfiction, I thought of him as Colin Creevy from Harry Potter. Like, that was like my mind's eye, my fan cast of him. And because of that, I feel like I've started this train of people, like, and I've had so many people in that comments tell me that they thought the exact same thing. So, next is Sun Killer. Sun Killer, who the fuck? It's Barty. Who's the sun? Oh! James is the sun. Okay, right, yes, of course. Sun Killer is the ship between Barty Crouch Jr. and James Potter. Now we're on to the bottom tier. So this is stuff that some of you probably don't know watching this video, even if you're Marauders fans. Okay, so we're starting off with Straight Hair Sirius. So if you're a new Marauders fan, you won't know what I'm referring to, but if you've been in this fandom for more than like a decade, you know. The 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, Sirius Black was like almost always drawn with straight hair. And also he was very commonly in the 2000s given like emo hair, emo straight hair. So yeah, if you look at any like cosplays or fan art from before the 2020s, a lot of it has like what I refer to as straight hair Sirius, which I personally just find cursed because his curls look so pretty and nice, and like it just adds to his, you know, the character design. Okay, how do I explain this? Next is Roxanne Malfoy. So this I've learned more about through comments that I've gotten. So this was an OC that a Russian fan work, like fan fiction writer, made in the 2000s or the 2010s, and it was made as like a self-insert OC that was shipped with Sirius, but Vera, the very popular like Tumblr fan artist, drew fan art of this for this person, and so you can find fan art of Sirius Black x Roxanne Malfoy. And it's so confusing because it's like, this is not a character within the Marauders canon, and it's just like an OC. And apparently the person that this OC belongs to is actually like really problematic and bad from what I've heard and what I've learned through my comments. It's a whole thing. Roxanne Malfoy is a thing that I've learned about that I didn't know before I did research for my videos. Okay, next, Lily as Elle Fanning. This is kind of specific to me, but it's something that I don't see commonly talked about anymore, like at all. So I've been in the fandom for way too long, and in 2016, a common fan cast was that Lily should be or was Elle Fanning. Which is funny because nowadays Elle Fanning is fan cast. If people see Pandora as white, she's fan cast as Pandora. So like Elle Fanning used to be fan cast as Lily in the 2010s, but now Elle Fanning is fan cast as Pandora. And the reason why she's fan cast as Pandora mainly is because this picture came out of this movie that Elle Fanning and Timothée Chalamet were in, and Timothée Chalamet is the main fan cast for Regulus, so people saw this and were like, oh my god, it's Regulus and Pandora. Now Elle Fanning is the Pandora fan cast. Do you understand why these are at the bottom tier? Like, I sound like an insane person explaining this, but this is true! Next is LiveJournal fics. So these are, like, pretty much the oldest Marauders fanfictions that you'll find. They were written in the 2000s on LiveJournal, like, before Archive of Our Own was a thing. So you'll find, like, very weird, interesting Marauders fanfictions written in the 2000s on LiveJournal, and you can still find them and read them. Okay, so next is kind of related to that. It's Edmund as Regulus. So I don't know if any, like, very new Marauders fans would know of this, but before Timothée Chalamet was primarily fan cast. Can you hear that my voice is literally giving out? Dear God. Before Timothée Chalamet was primarily fan cast as Regulus, Edmund from Narnia, Scanlan Keyes was the common fan cast for Regulus, and you'll find like this throughout the 2000s and 2010s fandom, and it just always makes me laugh a little bit. I do honestly though, I kind of see it. I kind of understand where they were getting this from. Permanently see Regulus as Timothée Chalamet now, but I can respect what was going on. I can understand the thought process of, yes, Edmund and Regulus. Similar vibes. Next is James the Ally Potter. So this is a reference to how James was characterized before the 2020s, before all the young dudes. He was always seen as like the ally because he wasn't ever headcanon to be queer. Like nowadays he has like Jegulus and various other ships going on. Like people commonly headcanon him as queer, like bi. But back in the 2000s, people didn't, so he was referred to as like James the Ally Potter, and he like always was just like cheering on Wolfstar in like the 2010s. So Jeverus is our last thing at the very bottom of this dark iceberg. We're in murky waters, we're in the deep dark. I need to be saved from here and this ship. Jeverus is James Potter and Severus Snape. This genuinely was a popular ship in the 2000s. So I guess when people weren't making him the ally, they were shipping him with fucking Snape. With Snape! The amount of fan art that I have found of this from the 2000s, it's too much. It's way too much. Like when I did my research for my Wolfstar video and I was trying to look at like and find old fan art of the Marauders, the sheer amount of Jeverus fan art that I found scarred me, I fear. Yeah, so this was a semi-popular ship. And you might be thinking, but you like Jegulus. Jegulus and Jeverus are worlds apart, and I will not be accepting criticism because Snape, Regulus on the other hand, you know? You guys get it. I know you get it. And that's everything. That is my iceberg. So if I didn't have things on this iceberg and I didn't talk about references that you commonly know, feel free to mention them in the comments. This was just stuff that I am personally aware of. Before I go, one thing is thank you so much for 3,000 subscribers. That's crazy. I stopped posting and you guys still got me to 3,000 subscribers. Like, that's crazy. Thank you. I never imagined this channel would even get 1,000 subscribers, so now that I'm at 3,000 is actually like mind-blowing. So thank you, seriously, from the bottom of my heart. Like, also, I might like branch out into making like lore and video essays on other media, on other fandoms. Especially right now, I'm kind of fixated on Arcane, so I'm throwing around the idea of maybe doing a video essay on Victor from Arcane, so that might be my next video. If you guys want to see that, just tell me in the comments. Like, I don't want to make a video if you guys don't want to watch it, but if you will watch it, then I will yap about it. Also, if any of you noticed, yes, I do have Jinx nails right now from Arcane. I'll see you guys in my next video, whenever, whatever that might be on, we'll see. I'll probably do a poll to ask if people do want to see essays from other media, because that would probably mean me posting more, but we'll see. Alright, thank you guys for everything. Once again, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in my next video.